Hey everyone, I'm Jason, and this is your commentary on Genesis chapter 29. Then Jacob continued on his journey. He came to the land where the eastern tribes lived. There he saw a well in the field. 3 flocks of sheep were lying near it. The flocks were given water from the well. The stone over the opening of the well was large. All of the flocks would gather there. The shepherds would roll the stone away from the well's opening. They would give water to the sheep. Then they would put the stone back in its place over the opening of the well. So they did this because they wanted to have the least amount of evaporation occur within the well. So they would wait until all of the flocks were together and the sheep could get drinks at one time, and then they put the rock back on top so that way the well would continue to have water in it. Jacob asked the shepherds, "My friends, where are you from?" "We're from Haran," they replied. He said to them, "Do you know Nahor's grandson Laban?" "Yes, we know him," they answered. Then Jacob asked them, "How is he?" "He's fine," they said. "Here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep now." "Look," he said, "the sun is still high in the sky. It's not time for the flocks to be brought together. Give water to the sheep and take them back to the grasslands." So Jacob's a professional shepherd here. He knows what they need. The sun was still in the sky, so it was time for the sheep not to be sitting around and then waiting for a drink, but to be back in the fields getting grass, getting food. So he tells them to get the water and move on. "We can't," they replied. "We have to wait until all of the flocks are brought together. The stone has to be rolled away from the opening of the well. Then we'll give water to the sheep." He was still talking with them when Rachel came with her father's sheep. It was her job to take care of the flock. Rachel was the daughter of Laban. He was the brother of Jacob's mother. When Jacob saw Rachel with Laban's sheep, he went over to the well. He rolled the stone away from the opening. He gave water to his uncle's sheep. Jacob kissed Rachel. Then he began to sob loudly. He had told Rachel he was a relative of her father. He also said he was Rebekah's son. Rachel ran and told her father what Jacob had said. As soon as Laban heard the news about his sister's son Jacob, he hurried to meet him. Laban hugged Jacob and kissed him. Then he brought him to his home. There Jacob told him everything. Then Laban said to him, "You are my own flesh and blood." Jacob stayed with Laban for a whole month. Then Laban said to him, "You are one of my relatives, but is that any reason for you to work for me for nothing? Tell me what your pay should be." Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older one was Leah, and the name of the younger one was Rachel. Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel was beautiful. She had a nice figure. Okay, so here it says Leah had weak eyes. It's a common misconception that Leah was not attractive, and weak eyes would be kind of like, not being able to really focus. I don't believe that's the case. In my studies, I've actually found that weak eyes, the phrase can also mean was soft on the eyes. So she wasn't like a supermodel or anything like her sister Rachel was. She was just pleasant to look at, but not much beyond that. So Jacob was in love with Rachel. He said to Laban, "I'll work for you for 7 years to get your younger daughter Rachel." Laban said, "It's better for me to give her to you than to some other man. Stay here with me." So Jacob worked for 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because he loved her so much. Now that's the way it's supposed to be with true love. If you really love somebody, then spending time with them, working for them, it goes by so quickly. It's not meant to be like a major drag or anything. I do find it interesting, the contrast between Jacob and Isaac. Isaac didn't have to go back. And Jacob, I don't think he was supposed to go back either. He went back in order to get away from his brother Esau, who was trying to kill him. Whereas Isaac, Abraham was able to send a servant on behalf of Isaac. The servant went to Laban and was able to get Rebekah to come back and marry Isaac. Here, Jacob has to go. He doesn't get to just bring Rachel back. He's stuck there and has to work for 7 years for her because he's there, unlike Isaac. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife. I've completed my time. I want to make love to her." So Laban brought all of the people of the place together and had a big dinner prepared. But when evening came, he gave his daughter Leah to Jacob, and Jacob made love to her. Laban gave his female servant Zilpah to his daughter as her servant. Okay, so you're probably thinking, wow, how can Jacob not realize that it's not Rachel, it's Leah? Well, back then they would have the big feast and everything. It would be later in the evening, and the bride would actually go into the groom's tent late at night. So they didn't have electricity or anything. There was no way for them to really be able to see clearly that late at night. Also, after dinner, you may have had a couple too many drinks. So Laban is completely deceiving Jacob here by doing this. So when Jacob woke up in the next morning, there was Leah next to him. So he said to Laban, "What have you done to me? I worked for you to get Rachel, didn't I? Why did you trick me?" Laban replied, "It isn't our practice here to give the younger daughter to be married before the older one. Complete this daughter's wedding week. Then we'll give you the younger one also, but you will have to work for another 7 years." Okay. It would have been nice had Laban mentioned their cultural practices of always marrying off the older one first. I'm sure Jacob was completely caught by surprise with that one. It's fascinating to me. Jacob was the one who deceived Esau. He also deceived Isaac. And now here he is getting deceived himself by Laban. So the phrase, "you reap what you sow," is really true in this passage right now. So Jacob did it. He completed the week with Leah. Then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. Laban gave his female servant Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her servant. Jacob made love to Rachel also. He loved Rachel more than he loved Leah, and he worked for Laban for another 7 years. That probably didn't feel really good on Leah's behalf to hear that one. Jacob doesn't want to marry her. Okay, but then Jacob's going to go another 7 years while being married to her sister. And it's just, everyone knows Jacob loves Rachel and he doesn't love Leah. I mean, how would you feel if you're in that type of relationship? You're completely unloved. Okay. So the Lord saw that Jacob didn't love Leah as much as he loved Rachel. So he let Leah have children, but Rachel wasn't able to have any children. Leah became pregnant. She had a son. She named him Reuben. She said, "The Lord has seen me suffer. Certainly my husband will love me now." She became pregnant again. She had a son. Then she said, "The Lord heard that Jacob doesn't love me very much. That's why the Lord gave me this one too." So she named him Simeon. She became pregnant again. She had a son. Then she said, "Now at last my husband will want me. I have had 3 sons by him." So the boy was named Levi. She became pregnant again. She had a son. Then she said, "This time I'll praise the Lord." So she named him Judah. Then she stopped having children. So the first 3 children that she has, she's excited to have children because she thinks, oh, well, Jacob will finally love me because I'm able to give him children. But more than that, I'm able to give him sons. 3 sons. So Jacob has to love me now. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. I think with the last one, her response is, "This time I'll praise the Lord." It's not, "This time Jacob will love me," but "This time I'll praise the Lord." And her focus is going back to God and how God was gracious to provide for her, and that God has shown his love for her even if she's not receiving it from her husband. Okay, so that's it for a commentary on Genesis chapter 29. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.